Sherry and Ernesto live in an apartment in the city with their children, Julia and Ricky, who are 9 and 7 respectively. They also have 2 cats. Ernesto works as a management analyst in the harbor department and has signed the oath to serve as a disaster service worker during a declared citywide emergency. He wants to ensure the safety of his family and begins by talking with Sherry about a family disaster plan.
I signed the DSW oath at work and have been thinking about what that really means. I think we need to face the fact that there is a very real possibility that because we live in California, we could experience a wildfire or a major earthquake or some other type of disaster. I think it's a good idea to plan for emergencies. I want us to face this maturely and prepare the kids in our home. Even though a disaster would be very scary for the kids, it would be far less scary if we have a plan in place and they know what to do.
You're right. I think you and I would feel calmer if we knew we were all prepared, and our calmness would help the kids feel less afraid.
Okay, so let's brainstorm about what we need to do. There's a couple of websites we can look at for ideas. ReadyLA.org says we should all know how to turn off the gas, but that doesn't really apply to us here in the apartment. But we do all need to know how to use a fire extinguisher. Even Julia could learn to do that. The website also said that we need to do a home hazard hunt to check for anything that could move, fall, break, or cause a fire. I'll work on securing those bookcases to the wall and check around for anything else. Hey kids, one of Mom's and my jobs as parents is to make sure you guys are safe. We want to talk with you about what to do in an emergency. We don't think that anything bad is going to happen, but we do know that if something unexpected does happen, it doesn't have to be scary if you just know what to do.
Right, so we want to talk about what we would do for 3 different situations. Emergencies at home, at school, or somewhere away from home.
An emergency that could happen at home might be a fire. If you ever see fire or hear a smoke alarm go off, you know to do what you can to go down the stairs and get out of the apartment. Do you each remember the stop, drop, and roll drill? In a fire, you want to stay low to the ground, away from any fire or smoke. Don't take the elevator. Once you're out, if we're not with you, go down the street and stand in front of Mr. Tom's hardware store. We would look for you there.
But if a fireman or someone else in a uniform tells you to do something different, you listen to them and do what they say. They are there to help you. How about if there was an earthquake? Do you remember the drop, cover, and hold on drill?
Good idea, Sherry. Kids, let's talk about that. You drop down and get under a desk or a bed and hold on to that piece of furniture until the shaking stops. If you're at home, don't try to run out of the building while the earthquake is happening. Just stay in the apartment.
So the plan is that if for some reason we're not with you when something happens, we would look for you in the apartment first, like with an earthquake. And if there's a situation where you should be out of the apartment, like a fire, we'll ask someone in uniform outside or look for you in front of Mr. Tom's store.
The second kind of place where you might be in an emergency is at school. You would just do whatever your teachers tell you. I know you've practiced earthquake and fire drills there.
But let's talk about what you would do if you're somewhere else other than school and something happens. Let's say, for example, Julia, that you are walking home from school, but the street to our neighborhood is blocked off and you can't walk home. You both know where the YMCA is because that's where you go for karate lessons. Go there to wait and we'll come get you. And each of you knows how to pick up a phone and dial 911 in an emergency. Make sure that you only call that number in a real emergency. Ricky, bring me the old cell phone you play with. Let me see how you would do it with a real phone. If you had to call, you need to be able to give them our names and our address. Let's practice that. I want both of you to know how to spell Dad's name and say his cell phone number too. I think a good idea would be for us to repeat the number 3 times each night before we go to bed for a while, just to practice.
One other phone number I want us all to memorize is Aunt Rosa's number. Since she lives so far away from Los Angeles, she likely wouldn't be affected by anything that might happen here. If you get worried because we haven't come soon enough, borrow someone's phone and call her and tell her where you are. If we have trouble getting to you, like if the road is closed or something, we'll call her and get your message. If the phone lines aren't working, ask the person whose phone you're borrowing to text her. Sometimes texts get through when phone calls won't.
And you might be wondering about our cats. We'll take them with us if we have to leave the house. If something happens when we're not home and we can't get to them, I talked with Mrs. Goodman, who lives about a block away. You know, she has the little dog we see when we walk to the park. We've exchanged keys and made an agreement that she would look after the cats, and we would look after her dog if one of us can't get home.
Mom and I have started preparing something called a go bag. We've packed some things for all of us, including the cats, and we're going to help you kids pack a go bag of your own. If we have to leave the apartment quickly, it will be something we can take with us in case we need to stay away from home for a few days. It will have some clothing and other supplies in it. You can each add a toy, a book or two, some paper and crayons, your old Game Boys, and some extra batteries. Julia, I know you would also want a stuffed animal to sleep with, so why don't you pack a stuffed animal too? Ricky, stick in a picture or two of the cats and a picture of our family. You might also want to pack that signed baseball that I know you can't live without.
As much as possible, in an emergency, you'll need to carry this go bag by yourselves, because Dad and I will have our own stuff to carry.
This is a lot of stuff to remember, isn't it? But the more we're prepared, and the more we keep practicing it, the calmer you'll feel if we ever have an emergency in our city.
For more information, visit dswready.lacity.org.